Good morning. Reed here. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for subscribing to the channel here and liking the videos and the comments. Appreciate all that. Today I'm thinking about, as I have a bit of a longer morning at home, that idea of core. Now obviously it can go in a lot of directions. In particular, I'm talking about like when you live with other people and there's a core crew of people. Maybe it's just a couple. Maybe there's kids around. Maybe you live with a bunch of people and everyone's on different timelines for how long they're around for. And so this idea came up where I lived the other day, and it got me thinking, what does that mean? And I think of the earth when I think of core, and the notion of it's surrounded by a mantle. Now, when I think of core, it could be like those primary people who are holding the space. It could also be the set of values that run the space. Like, you know, communities are not always just like places where people live together. It can be a group of people who, you know, are doing a particular activity together. And it's like, what is the core of that group? And then the mantle is all the people who are there really a lot, who really show up to make it happen. And then the crust of it all, that's like the culture that the rest of the world perceives. Excuse me. And thinking of this, the notion that when it comes down to people who are the core, oftentimes, you know, there's going to be levels of disagreement amongst people. It's a pretty normal thing to happen. And that creates these fluctuations in the, you know, electromagnetic forces that the core is producing. Now on the earth, my opinion is that produces hot spots. So you have, you know, the ring of fire happening, and, you know, with the earth, the frequency is steady enough that, you know mostly where that's going to be. Now, in a community setting, whatever that is for you, or a household setting, you know, if it hasn't stabilized well enough, then you can have the erratic natures of whatever's taking place around that. And the mantle space, those people who are showing up on the regular basis, they essentially feed off of that. They're influenced by that. There's time and space where the overarching culture is either able to condense and solidify a bit and become something, or maybe it's just not actually stable enough to have that take place, which gives us these, the different entities of community then last for different lengths of time because the foundation on which it all was resting isn't stable enough. It's not producing a rhythm set that can be tapped into, so where to put your home or where to put your energy, or that it's a safe place to bring the people you care about into it. And as I've been thinking about this, just that notion of most of us who enjoy spending some amount of time with other people, with the recognition of we might want certain attributes more present than others, and a recognition of if we don't have common ideals or desires for particular ways of being, then it might also seem like I don't want to be around people because we're never on the same page about things, and it's too much energy and time investment for too little return. And the notion of, how do we form that stabilized core? And how do we decide upon the values? And recognizing, like, depending on the situation, having too many cooks in the kitchen can really just throw the whole process off. Intermixed with, maybe you don't have like the solid core people or the solid mantle people there, and you have a couple that are not in alignment, which then throws the whole thing off. This is why, like, when people try to live together, it can be really difficult to have that stabilized core, or it revolves around a particular family who is centered. In other situations, when it's activity based, it's usually pretty helpful to still have some layers of, like, how do we resolve conflict together, with the notion that conflict is always going to happen, and if you don't have some method to deal with it, then it's going to really zap the energy of the group. This can also just be seen as like an exit strategy. Like, it's really good when you're dealing with people and things to have that exit strategy in place, which all requires a bit of long-term thinking, which is something that, as far as I'm concerned, we're not teaching in school, and so it can be helpful to look in other places for it. To which I really like the Long Now Foundation for cluing me into a whole bunch of different ideas on thinking long term. With that, thanks for watching the video. Thanks for your support out there. If you want to buy my album or listen to it, you can go to bendingreeds.bandcamp.com. If you want to buy my book, that's available at bendingreeds.com. If you want to buy some paintings, you can message me directly, unless you're seeing my posts on the Nostr protocol, or, honestly, Facebook is getting crazy out there these days, so I think I'm going to be a little less over there. And I hope that you all are making the most of this beginning of winter, as I believe it's December 5th today. I'll have more updates on other things soon for you. Thanks again for being here. Have too much fun.